All right, so it's 1 p.m. I thank you for joining me this afternoon on this live broadcast. It usually comes up on Wednesday at 1 p.m., but this week I've had to reschedule because of the several events that have come up before me. Yesterday I had to take a trip. I traveled to Kaduna State and I needed to attend the funeral of an in-law of mine, or my sister's in-law rather. My sister lost her father-in-law, and the burial was yesterday, so I needed to be a part and parcel of it, and that's why I had to miss out on the yesterday's broadcast time. So my apology to everyone who had waited for that broadcast time but didn't see me come on. Now it's because I needed to attend a burial, like I mentioned earlier on, and I apologize for that greatly. Now, a few things happened at that place of burial that I'll try to tie down to today's lesson on unleashing your potential. You'll recollect that this is the third time I'm talking about unleashing your potential. And basically, it's because every one of us has huge potentials, immense potentials in the inside of us. All right, this is so huge. This is so vast in the inside of us that it's very necessary that we talk again and again and again about unleashing your potentials. And I'm speaking this because from the place where I broadcast from Africa, so much has been untapped, so much potentials are lying down here, and we're yet to maximize our potential. We're constantly looking at the Western world where the environment has encouraged a number of people to unleash the potentials that they have, and it seems that we're left behind. Well, I will talk about this more and more as we go on. So yesterday I traveled to Kaduna for the funeral service, and I had the privilege of meeting a lot of people, family members, friends I've not seen for a long while, colleagues, secondary school mates, and so on and so forth. Now, one thing stood out for me in the whole spectrum of persons that I met, which was that even though I do not see people regularly, as many people regularly on this live broadcast, but I got tripped, I got encouraged by the fact that virtually everybody I met and spoke to yesterday commended the work and effort that has been done or that is being done through this Facebook or YouTube broadcast. It was quite encouraging. It has pumped me up. It has pushed me up and encouraged me to continue to do more so that people out there who are benefiting from the things that I say will continue to benefit from it. So my appreciation to everyone out there who commended me, who encouraged me, who made suggestions as to how to even improve on this broadcast. So I'm most grateful and I'm thankful to every one of you out there. Now, having said that, let me um, try to draw our attention to the fact that last week, when I spoke on unleashing your potentials, I talked about the 7 factors that would hinder you from unleashing your potentials. The 7 debilitating factors or the limiting factors that will suppress you or hinder you from unleashing this potential that the world has been waiting for. And of course, just for the sake of reminder, I mentioned that one, your past success can stop you from achieving much or from going further in searching for and building up your potential that is already deep down in the inside of you. Fear can do that also. There are so many people who are so afraid of life. They are so afraid of venturing. They are so afraid of leaping out. And that has killed the potential that is in the inside of them. I said pride can do that also. So you succeeded in times past, you are succeeding now, and then people are making suggestions that should be helpful to you. But because you are proud, you would allow this pride kill the potentials that are in the inside of you. Do not let pride kill you. Pride goes before every fall. Pride goes before every fall. So rise up, take up the challenge, and unleash the potentials that are in the inside of you. I mentioned quite a number of other things. I said your lack of knowledge can also be a debilitating factor for you, so that because you do not know, you have not searched, you have not researched over your skills, your talents, your abilities, you continue to suppress yourself and hinder your potential from coming forth. Okay, so these are a few of the things that I mentioned last week. Today, I want us to take it a step further to see some of the ways in which you can improve your life, some of the ways in which you can unleash the potentials that are in the inside. That I want to point out is the fact that um, your potential is your potential is not only important to you, but it's also important to me. It's important to the world. Whatever you are enjoying now is because somebody has taken the bold step to unleash the potential that is in the inside of them. That's the truth. Somebody has confidently taken steps to do things that will benefit him but benefit the larger world. In fact, most people who unleash their potentials never think of themselves, even though they gain reward from the fact that, even though they gain from the fact that their their potential has been unleashed and then certain benefits come to them. But ultimately, most people think about benefiting the world first before they think of benefiting themselves. Okay? Now, the truth is that if you unleash your potential and you are so good at unleashing your potential, you will make a benefit, you will make a profit from that act. Okay? When you see sports stars enjoying themselves on the field, the primary their primary concern is not themselves. Their primary concern is the people who are watching them and enjoying what they do. Okay? So that's the thing that you have to first of all think of. Think of me. Think of others around you. Think of members of your family. The fact that they will gain and benefit from your potential should encourage you, should spur you on to push yourself to unleash all of the potentials that are in the inside of you. Now, the truth is that at creation, you were packed, super packed. There are so many things that are in the inside of you that you cannot unfold entirely, no matter how long you live on earth. No matter how long you live here on earth, there are so many things that are packed up in the inside of you that it becomes impossible for you to do all that you were made to do. Okay? Yes, you can get to a point where unleashed virtually nearly all, and you can be satisfied with the fact that you have unleashed all. But I tell you, even at the age of 100, even at the age of beyond 100, as long as you live, okay, as long as you live, as long as you live, then that you can be sure that you can continue to unleash the potentials that are captured in the inside of you. There's so much that you can do, so much that the world has been waiting for from you. Okay? So that's the first thing. And for you to be able to do this, I think you have to apply this principle of the kernel, where I'm a student of the must fall to the ground and die before it can bear much fruit. Okay? It must fall down and die before it can bear much fruit. How does this relate to you and I? It relates to you and I in the sense that, you see, for you to be able to unleash your potential to the fullest, you must first of all die to yourself. Die to yourself. The reason why some of us are refusing to unleash our potential is that we're still alive to ourselves. That means we're so conscious about ourselves that we do not find the time and strength to unleash the things that are packed in the inside of us. Okay? What are the things we're concerned about? We're concerned about our reputation. What if I do this and it fails? That we are refusing and unable to unleash the potentials that are captured in the inside of us. So the first principle for you to be able to unleash the potential that is captured in the inside of you is that you must die to yourself. Die to yourself. You must forget your reputation. You must forget what benefits you get from unleashing your potential. You must, and by the way, like I insist, if you unleash your potential, no matter how small you do it, you will get a benefit that is worth the percentage of what you have been able to unleash. All right, that's the truth. Okay, if you unleash to 90%, you get a 90% reward, and sometimes if you unleash to 90%, you get 100% reward because the world is waiting for you. The world is waiting for you. So you must take up that principle of dying to yourself. Dying to yourself. Forget your interest. Put the interest of others above your own interest. Surrender to yourself, so to speak. Okay? And then when you surrender to yourself, when you die to yourself, you allow the things that are in the inside of you to be unfolded. Now, a dead person is not sensitive. Therefore, you ought not to be sensitive to people who applaud you or people who insult you because you won't move far. If you pay attention to people who applaud you, the tendency is for you to sit down where they applaud you and never venture to do much. That's the truth. If you pay attention to the people who insult you and cross you for making an attempt, then you will spend time being afraid to try new things. That isn't good for you and I. So the first thing that you must know is that you must learn to die to yourself. Everything, every seed, for it to become a tree, must first of all die, must be put in the soil, and then must die before it fruits or before it becomes, it buds and then eventually, or germinates rather, eventually grows into a tree and then becomes whatever it wants to become. I have a couple of trees in my compound, many of which I planted. All right. Now, some of those trees that were planted were things that um, I I took their seeds and put in the ground. Okay, I have a nursery of about 500 plants. Okay, planning to improve them. But for now, I have a nursery of about 500 plants. Now, some are growing well, some are not doing well. I must confess. But the fact is that for every fruit or every tree that is growing right now, I first of all planted the seed, gave it some time to die. In fact, there was a plant I didn't know, I didn't take note of how long it takes to germinate that I planted and thought it was dead. Then I was even aiming to take, I was aiming to take because I thought the soil was not good. So I was aiming to take the soil, turn out, and then fill in new soil with manure and everything and plant fresh seeds. But I told myself I'll wait until the weekend. Okay, that was after about 3 weeks. I said I'll wait until the weekend, then when I'll have enough time to do what I wanted to do. And as God will have it, by the weekend, this plant started to sprout out. They began to come out. They began to come out and they turned out to be beautiful trees. Okay, I have about 50 of them, soursop trees. Very beautiful, growing well. And I am quite impressed at the fact that they grew out to become the things that they are. But first of all, when I planted the seeds needed to die. The seeds needed to die. Attached to the principle of dying to self is the fact that you also need to be patient. To be able to unleash your potential, you need to be patient. When you die to yourself, don't expect an instant growth. When you die to yourself, don't expect to germinate immediately. It simply means that when you die to yourself, you have to keep trying and trying and trying to do what? To unleash the things that you intend to unleash in the inside of you. If I had, because at one point I became impatient with the crops that I planted, if I'd gone to throw away the soil from the grow bags and replaced the soil with fresh soil, I would have lost those seeds. I would have lost those seeds. They would not have grown to become the trees that I admire right now. So, anytime that you attempt to unleash your potential, you've got to be patient. Every first try will not take you to perfection. Again, I know of people who have tried certain things and they expected that at the first, second try, they became perfect. And as soon as they realized they were not becoming perfect, they took out, they more or less took out everything or stopped everything that they had begun to pursue. You must pursue everything that you've begun to the end. You must go to the point where you abandon it only because you are so sure and certain that it will not grow. But most things, if you are persistent in pursuing them, they grow. So for you to unleash your potential, you've got to exercise patience. You've got to allow time pass. You've got to allow things take shape. You've got to allow the formative period of whatever potential you are pursuing and bringing forth so that the world can enjoy and benefit from you. Today we're talking about the Wright brothers as the founders of the airplane. But I tell you, they had several tries. They had several attempts before they were able to fly for the very first time. Now imagine that as the first attempt, they failed and then they abandoned the project. We would probably not have had heard their names, or would have heard their names as people who tried and failed. And perhaps the airline industry wouldn't have been what it is today. But basically, because they tried and tried and tried until because they knew they would fly, they tried and tried until they flew. Okay? So every time that you attempt to unleash your potential, be patient to let it germinate. Be patient to let it grow. Be patient to ensure that it grows in the way that it ought to grow. Next to that is the fact that when your seeds begin to sprout, you are patient enough for the seed to sprout. When the seeds begin to sprout, that isn't time to relax. That is time to fertilize. For every plant that is not fertilized, the tendency is that the plant will die. For every crop that is not add fertilizer to and do not nurture, the tendency is that that plant will die. Therefore, I encourage you that as you pursue to unleash your potential and as you begin to unleash your potential, you must, as a matter of fact, begin to think of how to nurture your crop. And in nurturing your crop, you've got to also do what? You've got to add fertilizer to what you are doing. So say You want to be a writer. Your first book will not be a perfect book. Okay? But having published your first book, okay, you must be encouraged to publish your first book. And having published your first book, you must do a critical review of that book and then learn new things that will help you develop that skill, that ability to properly develop your next book. To properly develop your next book. Now, the fact that your first book will not be perfect does not mean you should not have a first book. The fact that your first meal will be laughed at does not mean that you should not do your first meal. If you're waiting to begin a restaurant with very perfect meals, I tell you, you will miss the mark. You may never start. But once you start the restaurant, you must constantly make effort to do what? To improve how you cook. You must learn new skills. You must study recipes. And of course, there are recipes all across the board. Everywhere, from every continent, there are recipes that have been written about meals. You have cuisines and meals that are so particular to certain people. Now, you must learn at every time. That's what I simply mean when I say nurture the skills and the abilities for which you're making effort to unleash your potential. Learn to improve. One of the things that has kept us as Africans backward in agriculture is the fact that the tools that we still use, many of us still use, are the tools that our forefathers had invented. But imagine that for every invention, we sat down and improved the invention. We sat down and nurtured the invention. We would right now have gone very, very far as far as agriculture, and I'm just using agriculture as an example, as far as agriculture is concerned. In Nigeria at the moment, over 70% of our workforce are farmers. But when you hear 70% of our workforce are farmers, you think that we have so much food in abundance that we're throwing away. No, most of them use basic tools. In a lot of places, all right, people still use hoes and machetes. Why? Because we're refusing to improve, and we're refusing to nurture the tools that we have used or our forefathers had used over time. And our forefathers invented these tools because at that time, those were the skills, those were the needs, those were the requirements that were available or that were needed at that time. So besides dying to yourself, besides allowing time to pass or patience for you to sprout, you must also do what? You must nurture the potential that you are unleashing to the world. Nurturing is very important. In doing this broadcast, I've read so much about potential. I think I have learned enough. I just tell myself, that is self-deceit. You can never learn enough. Go back and learn some more. So I go back to read some more. A few minutes before I started this broadcast, I read also certain things by Miles Monroe on potential, on unleashing your potential. So you must constantly nurture the potential that are inside of you. You must be a learner, a good and constant learner every time. Every time. You must pick up a book. And when you pick up a book, pick up books that will develop you, books that will improve you. Don't just read anything. Okay? So you must nurture the potential that you are unleashing or that you are bringing forth for the world to see. Then you must also water the potential. You must also water yourself. All right? Now, of course, by watering, it's close to adding fertilizer to yourself. So while you read, okay, you must also take up the challenge to do what? to ensure that you are growing. To ensure that you are growing, water brings life. In combination with the sun, anything can grow. So ensure that you are watering yourself. And by watering yourself, you must learn to do what? Attend seminars. You must learn from other people. Just as against reading books. Reading of books is my key way of learning. But even today, I registered for a seminar that will take place at 8 p.m., a webinar rather, that will take place at 8 p.m. today. I came across it on the internet. I read through and got interested, and I registered for it. Why? Because I want to water myself. I want to water myself. I may, to some people, have learned enough, or some people may think that I have learned enough, but I know that there's still a whole wild world of things that I could learn to improve myself on a daily basis. Going by the commendations yesterday, I should have said, well, I've arrived, I've reached the point of no return. Therefore, there's no need for me to learn. No, I would be deceiving myself. To unleash your potential, you must also water yourself for your potentials to grow. Then you must learn to do what? To weed things out of your life. For every plant and crop that you grow, if you do not weed it, very soon the weeds will take over. And you know the interesting thing about weeds? You do not need to fertilize weeds. You do not need to water weeds. You do not need to nurture weeds. They just grow. They just grow. And they grow specifically where you have planted important economic trees that have benefit for yourself and for the world. And that's what happens to us as humans. You must learn to weed. And by weeding, I would suggest that you must learn to do what? To review the relationships around you. Every relationship that does not help you grow, whether mentally, physically, or spiritually, that relationship is damaging to you. That relationship is a weed to you. That relationship is sucking you up. That relationship is drying you up. So for you to weed is to even review the relationships around you and cut off relationships that have no benefit for your life. Of course, you can be nice and good to everybody, but you cannot be friendly to everybody. You cannot befriend everybody. That's the truth. You cannot befriend everybody. There are relationships that are hindering you from growing. Cut off those relationships. There are habits that are limiting your growth. Cut off those habits. If you love watching TV and spend endless hours before a television set, cut it off from your life before it cuts you off from life. Cut it off. Don't surrender yourself to unnecessary TV viewing or unnecessary events that have no benefit for you. Okay? Don't. For you to grow fully to your potential, you must do what? You must learn to weed your life of things that can destroy you, things that can drag you back, things that can make you fall, things that can make you stunted and stop growing. That's how you must nurture the potential that are in the inside of you. Now, in furthering this, let me tell you this. Everything in life has the potential to do what? To fulfill its purpose, and that includes you. You know, a tree grows to its fullest potential. A tree. In fact, some experts have said that it is only the human race that has constraints in growing to its fullest potential. The human race. Why? because we all have the ability to choose. That hinder us from growing. But a tree cannot choose. When you plant a tree and you fertilize the tree and nurture the tree properly, the tree cannot choose. The tree just continues to grow until someone cuts it off. An elephant doesn't stop being an elephant and doesn't stop exhibiting its elephantness. Excuse my French in that regard. Okay? Doesn't stop unleashing its elephantness until the day it dies. But humans get to the point where they just feel satisfied and then relax. No, you must learn to do what? To unleash your potentials to the fullest. Let me at this point pause to say a big thank you to all those who are online with me at the moment. Thank you for joining me. And I will recommend that you just make comments and ask questions if you have any, and agree with some of the points that I'm raising or disagree. Feel free to disagree also with some of the things that I'm saying so that we can interact and benefit each other. I do not pride myself as an expert. I am a constant learner, and I would love to learn from you also. I'm using this platform not because I'm the best of all men, but because, of course, I've been inspired and motivated to do this. That's simply the difference between me on this side and you on the other side. But I'm sure there are other things that you're doing and doing quite well as it were. Okay, so feel free, please, to send in your comments to um, um, ask questions where there are quite needed questions and so on, things that require an answer for us to unfold. Okay, so as I was saying, everything in life has the potential to fulfill its purpose. Okay, everything in life has the potential to do what? To unleash its purpose to the fullest, to the fullest. Now, we must come to the point where we unleash all of our potentials to the fullest. Because to do so, or not to do so, is the height of irresponsibility. Every time that you refuse to unleash the things that are in the inside of you, shows that you are highly irresponsible and insensitive to the cry and ply of people around you. And of course, my challenge is not to raise irresponsible people. My challenge is to raise people who are responsible. People who will not want to die until they are empty, until they have nothing more to offer to the world. Then they can be confident and comfortable to die. But like I keep saying, until the day you die, there will still be some level of potential that are in the inside of you. And for that purpose, let me challenge you. For you to be able to unleash your potential, please find out what your purpose is in life. Find out what skills, what talent, what abilities you have in life. That's the key, that's the secret to unleashing the potentials that are in the inside of you. Every one of us, and this is without exception, every one of us has skills, have talents, have abilities that we were born with. Sadly, in this part of the world, in Africa, parents already make up their mind or have a mindset as to how children should grow. Then, because of that, they impose their own will, they impose their own thoughts, they impose their own mindset on the children. And for that reason, a lot of the children have been unable to explore the things that should be helpful to them. There are so many children who do not know the purpose for which they were born. They just think that their purpose aligns with their parents' purposes. No. The day you were born, you became an individual independent of your parents. Of course, in this life there is interdependence, but you became independent of your mother's brain, independent of your father's brain, independent of the umbilical cord, the moment you were separated from it. Why? Because every one of us has a purpose to fulfill in life. Every one of us has a purpose to fulfill in life. So you must dare, you must take up the challenge to be a different individual, to unleash the things that are in the inside of you. And like I said earlier on, not to do so is to live an irresponsible life. And unless you discover your purpose, you will live aimlessly. You lead an aimless life, and it isn't good for anyone who is living aimlessly. The reason why you see that people are drunkards is because they've lost their purposes in life. They fail to identify these purposes, they fail to follow these purposes in life. Therefore, they want to fill in the void, the vacuum that they found in the inside of them. And by the way, if you fail to discover your purpose in life, there will be a vacuum in your heart. There will be a vacuum in your soul. There will be a vacuum in your spirit. And life, like we know, abhors vacuum. The reason why people commit suicide is because they have lost their purposes in life. That's why they commit suicide. In other words, what they say to themselves is that life is not worth living. And why will life not be worth living? Life will not be worth living if you are not living for a purpose. If you do not have a purpose in life, your life will be meaningless, your life will be unpleasant, life itself will be unbearable for you. Unbearable for you. Therefore, you must know that there is always something in you that we haven't seen before, and that you can do much more than you are doing right now. There's always something in you that even you have not seen. This world would have been a much more better, much more peaceful place if everyone were unleashing their potential. Thieves would not be breaking into houses if they knew the purpose for which they live. And of course, like I said, once you are occupied living out your purpose, once you are occupied unleashing or doing out your purpose, time just flies. Therefore, you have no idle time for idle thoughts or for evil thoughts. You just keep moving on. You just keep forging on once you're able to discover your purpose. I've done a teaching on discovering your purpose. You can go to my Facebook page on Shedrack Bako and check. You see this teaching on how to discover and unleash your purpose. Now, these are the things that we've got to note, okay? And like I said, if you want to succeed, you've got to go out. Some of us are trailblazers. Waiting for others to discover new things, and then they align themselves to what the people have discovered and follow behind. No, that isn't how life should run. That isn't how life should run. Life should run to the extent that every one of us is not satisfied about what he or she has achieved, such that you become restless by the things that you have achieved. You want to forge on and on and on until you get a breakthrough. Therefore, you must do what? You must rise up. You must go all out. It's a lazy man that weighs or considers the weather before knowing whether he or she should go out to plant. An ignorant person does that also. Okay? Just jumps out or no, just sits back considering the weather and thinking, well, this is not the best time to plant. Or if I go into this investment and I fail, if I go into this, it will fail. If I try this, it will not work. No, that isn't how life should be. And by the way, most of the things that we tell ourselves and think that they are true were things that were written by other people on our own heart. Every one of us came to life as a clean slate, clean. The reason why you think the way you are thinking right now is because your parents and family members have infused something, have written on that plain board, and have written it so hard that you are unable to think out of that process. You're unable to, um, excuse me, you're unable to look beyond where you are. There was a time that scientists said that the earth was flat, and everybody believed them. Everybody was satisfied by the fact that the earth was flat. Why the earth was flat? Nobody asked for an explanation. How did they know the earth was flat? Nobody asked for an explanation. All that people believed was that the earth was flat. Until some crazy Galileo got up and thought, well, it may not necessarily be flat, and made certain observations, and then came up to say that the earth is spherical. And you know what? He was even condemned for speaking that the earth was spherical at that time. But today, all of us believe that the earth is spherical. But excuse me, are we sure the earth is spherical? Are we sure? Do you not believe that the earth is spherical because that's what your geography teacher told you? Are you sure that the earth is spherical not because of what you saw in the textbook? Go out there to discover whether the earth is spherical or not. And this should apply to every aspect of life. At one point, it was difficult to run a mile in 4 minutes. Difficult. People kept trying until someone broke that record. The record. That's life for you. Do not be limited by what you have heard or what you have been told that the world is. Go out to make a discovery for yourself. Go out to make a discovery. You have been told that it is. No, there are bigger things than what the earth is. Okay? So please note, you can do much more than what we are noting that you have done, or you can do much more than what you think that you have achieved. Much more by far, all right? Much more by far the things that you think that you have achieved. So note this. Again, you must learn to unbelieve the things that you have been told or taught to believe about life or about yourself. You must unthink the things that you were taught to think when you were much younger. Let me share a personal story at this point. Growing up, my dad was a very tough military man. And of course, there were days that he even meted out his military skills and tactics on trying to discipline us who were his children. I'm the first of a number of siblings. Okay? Now, of course, being the first, like I have later grown up to understand, is the fact that a lot of us make mistakes. that we ought not to be making. Why? Because it's a new terrain for you. You are just, you do not have, so to speak, an example ahead of you, someone that will tell you, will teach you what you should know. Okay? So you just learn as you live life. Now, that angered my dad seriously. He probably didn't understand what I was going through. And every time that I offended, he had a particular name to call me. He called me a sheep, actually. He told me out of anger that I constantly, this wasn't once, very many occasions, he would tell me, well, you are a sheep, you think like a sheep, you know the way that sheep think. Uh, once the head sheep just puts his head on the road, whether there are other, that thing weighed heavily on my mind. And I kept thinking, how does anybody call another person a sheep? Now, as I grew up, I realized that I wasn't a sheep. On a number of occasions, do not make me a sheep. So I had to unlearn those things from my heart. In fact, you know that if I've considered myself a sheep, then if I've considered myself a sheep, then I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing right now. Okay? I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing right now. Why? Why did I take up the challenge to say no to the fact that I was considered to be a sheep? Because I knew that if I had run with the same commentaries about how I was described, I probably would not do anything meaningful with life. I probably will not do anything meaningful about my own life. But because I've unlearned those thoughts that were imposed upon my heart, okay, I am now standing on my own and doing well, in my view, better than I ought to have been doing. Again, this is what kills a number of people in people who are religious. So you go to a church, you go to a mosque, you go to a shrine, whatever is said to you at that place are the things that you hold on to in your life and never relax about them. You just, they guide and run your life for you, as it were. You think that something that someone has studied and has told you is correct all the time. It is not. You must carry out your own research. You must do your own search to find out if what you've been told is correct, if what you've been told is right. A number of us are so satisfied just going into churches, hearing people preach, and then we hold on those things tightly and run with them. No, go back home and do your own research. Go back home and do your own research. Don't go into your mosque, go into your shrine and hear things about certain people or hear things about things that were not written, and then you hold on tightly to them and keep running with them until your life is destroyed and damaged. For you to unleash your potential, you must do what? You must own your own belief. You must own your own belief. It is people of conviction that unleash their potentials to the fullest. People of conviction, and you do not arrive at a conviction unless you have first of all thought through what you are about to do. This is my challenge to you. You must own your own belief. Okay? You must own your own belief. You must forget about the things that have been imprinted upon your heart. And by the way, sit down right now wherever you are after this broadcast and search your heart. What are the things that you believe? Find out if they are true and correct. Find out. If you do not do your personal study, if you do not do your personal search, if you do not find out for yourself things that should benefit you, I tell you, you'll be running and living another person's life and assuming that you are living your life to the fullest. That will not be true. That will not be true. It is by research that people went to the moon. It is by research that now crafts are going to Mars. And very soon, people are hoping to land on Mars. Before now, it was thought impossible to fly off. But right now, we've not only flown up, we've gone beyond the atmosphere, we've gone far into the skies, into the heavens, as it were, beyond any reach or beyond the comprehension of any human reach before now. Why? Some people did their study, were satisfied by what they did as personal studies for themselves. Please go out there, be challenged to do things for yourself, to do researches for yourself. Be challenged to refuse to believe what others have been saying to you and then go out to achieve much. Let me also say this, that everything you see now was at one time invisible. It's not as if they were non-existent. They were existent, but in the hearts and minds of other people. Some of them, in the course of unleashing the things that they have unleashed, people have discouraged them and told them all sorts of fable stories. But you know what? They believed in themselves, they believed in their vision, they believed in their purpose for life, and they chased their dreams to the fullest. They chased their dreams to the fullest. Everything you see right now began as an invisible thing until someone took up the challenge to do what? To pursue the things that we now see. And all of those things began with an idea. I'll round up by talking about an idea. All of the things we see right now, the buildings, the roads, the aircraft, the cars, whatever you see right now began as an idea. And people dwelt upon that idea. They brooded over that idea again and again and again and again and again and again until the idea materialized. I've been using this as an example. Many years ago, when we used to watch James Bond movies, we saw cars that were converted into boats or submarines, and we thought they were impossible. Today, there are inventions that are similar to the things that we used to watch on James Bond movies. Then we could see James Bond using his wristwatch to unlock doors or to snap pictures or to do things that were unthinkable. And of course, that time they looked very impossible. But today, we are seeing those things that started as small and little ideas coming to life even while we're yet alive. Before today, it would have been impossible to have your camera on any implement or any device other than a proper camera. But right now, we have mobile phones that are competing in terms of snapping pictures with cameras that were specifically built for that purpose. Why? Someone had an idea. Someone had an idea, and those ideas began to materialize. And by the way, when you have an idea, write it down first and foremost. Write it down so it doesn't escape your memory. Remember, the faintest pen is sharper than the sharpest brain. The faintest pen, rather. Even a pencil can help you achieve more memory than just storing it in your brain. There are very few people that can store so much in their brain and continue to brood over it. No. So write it down. When you write it down, also determine to work on it to materialize it. Because faith without works is dead. If you believe anything, you must live out the life for us to corroborate your belief with what you are saying. Write it down. Whatever idea comes to you, work on your idea. Work on your idea. It is by work on your idea that you can unleash the things that are stored up in your heart. So work on your idea. I probably will on Saturday just focus on working on your idea so that it can help us develop, help us build up, help us know that work does not kill anybody. No. Even at creation, work itself was created. Because when God created, He worked. And if God works, who are you and I not to work? The entitlement mentality has gripped the world. And right now, children are thinking that it is their entitlement to draw benefits from their parents. No, of course, you would ask if the parents were not ready, should they have brought the children? My answer would be no. But having brought the children, should the children sit back and continue to hope that it is what the parents give to them that they would enjoy? No. No. There are children that have grown up to be richer than their parents. Why? Because they worked. They worked harder, they worked smarter than their parents. Because they knew that without work, they will not benefit anything. An idea is simply an idea until you work upon it to bring it to life. And for you to unleash your potential, you must work on your potential. You must work on every idea that has come to mind. And like I said earlier on, write the idea down. Write the idea down so that you can remember. Write it and even place it on a board. Place it by your bedside. Place it where you can remember. There are books that I intend to read this year. I have brought them out of the shelf and I've kept them by my bedside. Whenever I wake up in the morning, those are the first things that I encounter. And I've been going through them. In fact, I had an encouragement from a friend lately that is encouraging me to even read faster and better. And I'm grateful to her. So please read, plan, have your ideas, but work to ensure that your ideas come to pass. Work to ensure that your ideas come to pass. Work is good, work is healthy. And you can list out all the benefits of work. Whatever you do, work on your idea. I'll stop here for today, thanking and appreciating everyone who has made a comment, everyone who has joined, whether by Facebook or YouTube, this broadcast, everyone who will subsequently come through to watch the broadcast or go back and forth again the broadcast. And I encourage you, it's been noted and scientifically proven that if you listen to something 7 times or you read it 7 times, it will stick to your memory. So I encourage you, take this, go back, rewind, and listen again and again until they register in your mind. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your comments. And I pray that you remain blessed, even having joined me to look at Unleashing Your Potentials Part 3. We'll continue in this series until I'm able to get to the point where I'm satisfied that you have been told what it means to unleash your potential. And beyond that, that you are rising up to truly do what? Unleash your potential, because the world is waiting for you. I am waiting for you. Your family is waiting for you. People around you are waiting for you. And if you have enjoyed other people's potential, if you have enjoyed the work of other people, it will be a shame, it will be an irresponsibility if you do not let others enjoy from the things that are stored up in the inside of you. Thank you and do have a good afternoon. Cheers and God bless you.